I think we got time for
There's
at least
more?
one more. Such a rich conversation.
I'm loving it now. All right, here we go.
Okay. Oh, this is a good one because it feeds really into what we've been talking about. How do you maintain brand consistency while adapting to local needs?
Yeah.
I know we touched on it a little bit earlier, but let's get into that one because consistency, a brand without consistency is hardly a brand. Let's be honest,
Agreed.
right?
Another great question, Mal.
Yeah.
So brand consistency is ultimately very important,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That's how your consumers recognize you, right? But I think a lot of brands have failed when they hang on too tight to the consistency, right? You need to always do sort of like a 70-30 rule, or 70-30% rule, right? 70% is the brand consistency. 30% to me is where you're a little bit more agile, you adapt to local market, right? What you do as a brand, when I say 70%, is like, what are the non-negotiables, right? For a brand when they're expanding, right? That could be customer experience. That could be, your menu, right?
Yes.
That could be your brand voice itself, graphics, the aesthetic, right?
Yes.
So you identify the non-negotiables. Yeah. That is what is going to give you brand consistency, right? And then that 30% is your local adaptation, right? And I'm talking about local adaptation. It's not, it can be something as simple as, this market really likes stuff that are hot and spicy, right? So adapting or turning it up a notch, right? Yes. Your food can be a little more spicy or, or it could even be as drastic as a different service concept. It's, if I'm expanding in one of the Northwest territories and it's extremely cold, maybe I want to do more drive-thrus, right? So it's understanding the local, requirements and, and adapting to those, right?
Yeah. And I'm glad you said the requirements because we talk oftentimes about brand non-negotiables and brand requirements. But when you're emerging into new markets, you also have to that market regulation, the different nuances that come down from just being in that province or country, considerations you might not have to have in the origin place of your business, right? Whether that has to do with design, washroom or restroom requirements, health and safety requirements might be different, accessibility. Requirements might also be different. So as a project leader, someone responsible for understanding all of those pieces before you move forward, because we both know it can get very expensive if something core is missed and you have to literally go back in and sometimes break down walls and do things completely over.
Right.
So what's one or two tips you can share about understanding the regulatory side?
So to me, it is again, when I'm expanding countries, you really want to partner with local operators and, potentially local, if you have team members there who knows the market, who knows these little nuances, right, that you may not have considered, right? And really listening to the locals, right? And I've seen so many brands fail, not because that their product or their brand is not a fit to that market. It's because they've never taken these into consideration, right? Yes. Or they've undermined these. I'll give you.
You don't know what you don't know.
No, you don't. So you rely on those experts that are local and listen to them, right?
Yeah. And you've brought up, and I know you have more to say, but you've brought up listening and the importance of active listening and really listening a couple times. Yeah. How do you you're actually listening to listen? Like, how do you know you're a good listener as a leader? Like, what are some of the things that point to, yes, I'm doing a good job here?
I don't know. I hope I'm doing a good job. Well, for me, is that it's a two-way conversations, right? You can tell when someone is not listening if they're just jotting down notes, not asking clarifying questions, right?
Clarifying questions.
And asking, okay, have you experienced this before and why has it failed, right? Or Why is this market different? Explain, like, to me, I have to understand the why.
Yes.
Right?
Leaning into that curiosity.
Yes. Leaning into the curiosity, understanding their perspective, right?
Yes.
And I've actually made a point, like, again, I have implemented many ideas from the local operators because they just make sense.
Yes.
Right? Like, why am I going to work harder if, like, this makes sense? Okay, this makes sense for the demographics. You live and you breathe in this community. Why would I come in and say that I'm the expert, right? So I think embracing that expertise, that local expertise.
Collaboration.
Collaboration is so key to it.
Yeah. Love that. Yes. Sorry, you were saying, how do we get more, what other considerations do we need to have in building out in different local markets?
So that's what I'm saying. One of the key ones, like local adaptation, right? And don't think of local adaptation as something that is very big. One example I would say is that working with a brand, we're expanding into Newfoundland.
Wow.
Yeah.
So East
Coast.
We interesting market out there.
Very. I mean, one of the biggest challenges in the East Coast is supply chain.
Yes.
Right. So when I understand, supply chain, where I'm talking about food delivery, we're talking about 22, and one is taking 22 hours to get from one warehouse in, say, Nova Scotia over to Newfoundland. 22 hours. We got to take a ferry.
Wow.
Delivery now, typically, there's about 2 to 3 times a week. In Newfoundland, it's once a week.
Okay.
Right? How do we navigate around that? Where you need now larger storage, larger refrigerators and freezers, right? But if I hadn't known these local conditions, we would have built to a standard that's out in GTA, right? And the franchisee would definitely
the brand would suffer.
Brand would 100% suffer.
Yeah.
Our customer experience wouldn't be optimal. We're running out of food. Right? And there's nothing to do, right? So understanding these, right? And doing the market research. Mm-hmm. And this was flagged by a local operator, like, who had another brand or another business there, saying, how are we navigating this?
Yes.
So for my team, like, we're, looking at external storage. We're looking at how do we optimize the storage within the restaurant.
Yes.
Right.
And having that information just feeds so many different aspects of the brand. You just talked about it's supply chain, but it's linked to operations, the customer experience, product availability, potentially product quality.
Yes.
All of those things get impacted with this small piece of information that could only really come from someone who lives it, breathes it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, can you imagine if we didn't know that supply chain, I would have assumed, that's not a good market. Right? Mm-hmm. Knowing that it was something that could be so small as like a hurdle around, not small, I don't want to say it's small, but like a hurdle supply chain. Instead of dealing with the root cause, you're just going to exit the market or no longer expand in that market. Yeah. Right?
And I think that's what makes your brain, your mind so beautiful is you look at a situation like this in where a lot of other leaders or people in your position might say, this isn't the brand for us. This isn't where we want to grow. Yeah. And instead of just saying no because it doesn't fit exactly into our current mold and model, you say, but wait, is there another way? Can we make an adjustment? Let's test this out. And you're very solution driven. And I think all leaders need to be solution driven and be able to know when to lean into that and not just stay and be agile and not just stick to, we've always done it this way and this is the only way to do it.
Yeah. I think you're probably the only one that's going to compliment me on that. Solution-oriented. I think I drove my parents crazy with why? Why can't it be done? Why? Right? And I feel I tap into that a lot, right? Yeah. I don't take no, right? It's no, but why?
And,
right?
No, but.
Yeah. Or how can we overcome that no, right?
Yeah, and I think you inspire a lot of people to think differently about it when you lead that way. And it helps people get innovative. It helps people stay agile. It helps people get creative. Get creative and find solutions together.
Yeah. I think not related to this, but like, don't take no. Like, honestly, like, you know, I mean, how many brands have heard, or how many people have heard no, 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 right? And I know it sounds a little cliche, but, you know, I follow a lot of like leaders that have been successful, right? The first time they've heard no, they don't just stop and, you know, drop everything and come with something. They find ways around how to overcome that no. Right?
Yes, how to turn the no into the yes. Yeah, sure. I love that.